So recently I sat down and rewatched the first 4 seasons of My Hero Academia, and that got me thinking about how good the character development is in that show. Seriously, so many of the different characters have their own little arcs or moments that let them shine and show off how their character's grown throughout the seasons. Whether it's Deku, Bakugo, All Might, or any of the other major characters from Class 1A, they all have clear and defined story progression that makes you empathise with their characters and turns them into fan favourites. But I think the most intriguing and complex character that's appeared in the show so far isn't even in this core group of main heroes and villains. He's far more of a tertiary character who's appeared in a few moments here and there across seasons 2, 3 and 4. And of course, if you read the title, this character is Endeavor. Unlike a lot of the other characters, he isn't easily defined. He isn't just a nice and honourable hero. He's a powerful and skilled pro, but he's a terrible husband and father. A brave warrior, but an awful person. Arrogant, brash, violent and moody, he's the antithesis of everything the show tells you a hero is all about. And yet despite these flaws, he's the number 2 hero through most of the first 3 seasons, and is officially promoted to number 1 after All Might's retirement. We're explicitly positioned to hate this guy. When we first see him, he trash talks All Might, a character that by this point you've grown to love as Deku's goofy mentor. He talks about how he bred Shoto explicitly to surpass All Might and specially trained him from a young age. He talks about his own son like a prize thoroughbred, like he's trying to win a best in show with his purebred dog. Then in Shoto's flashbacks, we see that he was put through extreme training starting at age 5 by Endeavor. That he married his wife only to have access to her ice quirk to make sure his overheating weakness could be bred out of the gene pool. That he beat her, and he ran her down to the point that she snapped. And then he had her institutionalized. He had 3 other kids with her that he just ignored and kept away from Shoto because they were imperfect. We've already seen 2 of these characters already. One hates their father with an undying passion, whilst the other seems to have a little bit more sympathy. The third we haven't actually seen yet, although both manga readers and anime watchers popularly believe that he's actually Darby from the League of Villains. So that's 2 sons that hate him, and another son that potentially hates him so much he faked his death and adopted the ideology that false heroes deserve to die. Oof. Father of the year right there. But then suddenly that anger the audience feels towards this guy is tempered with a begrudging respect. In the Hero Killer Stain arc, we see that he truly is a very skilled and powerful pro, and he lays waste to a number of Nomus using his Hellflame. We're explicitly told by a number of characters, including Shoto, who actively hated him at this point, that he's a powerful and skilled pro who deserves respect, and that's why he interns with him, to learn from a top-level hero. We're told that whilst he might be a bad person, that doesn't mean he's a bad hero. He still saves people, he still puts in effort and outworks almost every other hero in the show. He's also just a jerk. We're taught to respect him even more though when he puts aside his disdain for All Might to actually work alongside him to take part in a sting operation against the League of Villains and All For One. He even then tries to help All Might fight All For One towards the end of the battle. And then, in the aftermath of All Might's retirement, we're taught to pity Endeavor. Despite finally becoming number 1, he didn't surpass All Might. It was because All Might retired. He didn't earn it like he wanted to, and suddenly all his actions were rendered worthless. His endless and stubborn pursuit of the top spot resulted in him neglecting his family, his abusive training sessions, the cruel abuse of his wife, the destruction of his family. In the end, it all meant nothing. He could never surpass All Might. Shoto will never surpass All Might, because he retired before they had the chance. But despite how awful his actions are, his regret makes you feel sorry for him to an extent, and it makes you want to see him at least try to make amends for his actions. Even if he can't be forgiven, to show that he wants to make things right and be a better person. And then this is doubled down on when he said that he promises to make Shoto proud. He wants his son's approval. He wants his son to love him and see him as a worthy father, not just as his abuser. It adds a lot of depth to his story and makes him feel like an actual human, one who sacrificed everything in pursuit of their goal, only to find that once they achieved it, it wasn't worth the price they paid. And all this culminates in the end of Season 4. Darby releases a high-end Nomu and it attacks Endeavor, desperate to find out who's strongest. But this leaves us in a predicament as the audience. We know this guy's an abuser, a cruel man, a bad father, arrogant, brash, rude, a man who specially bred his children like they were cattle. And yet, we want him to win. We want him to overcome this battle. When it looks like he might be dead, we're filled with shock. We're like his children watching on the TV. Despite what he's done, we don't want it to end like this. We want him to have a proper chance to make amends for what he's done, even if they can't forgive him. And when the smoke clears and he's standing there with his fist in the air, you're a liar if you say you didn't feel something. Whether it was positive or negative, you felt something. And that's the beauty of this character. Despite his relatively few appearances, he's become so richly layered, both light and dark, good and bad, and in a way, both hero and villain depending on your point of view. And that's why he's perhaps the most interesting character to me, and a masterclass in development. He's a true human. A person isn't all good or bad, they have positive and negative traits, they grow as people, and they regret their past actions. And that's Endeavor's role in the story, a cautionary tale of pushing too hard for the number one spot. I'm really excited to see where his character continues to go from here. But now I want to hear what you guys have to say. What do you think about Endeavor? Do you like the way he's been written? If you've read the manga, do you like the direction they've taken him there? What do you think his endgame is? Let me know.